November 3rd, 2020, Election Day. On this day, the United States government will be experiencing a drastic shift in leadership. For the position of president, there are three candidates: Joseph Biden of the Democratic Party, Donald Trump, current president and of the Republican Party, and Joe Jorgensen of the Libertarian Party. But this election isn't just for the role of president. It's for our Supreme Court, our Senate, our state representatives, and even our local government. This election will not just influence our government for the next 4 years, but will make the history books and influence all the generations and elections to come. And who determines what goes in the history books is you, the people, because you have the right to vote for who will lead your country. While elections may appear tedious, boring, or even unnecessary, they are a vital part of the USA. So for the next few minutes, I ask all of you to listen. So those of you that are eligible to vote, to please do so, because your vote matters. And even those here that are not yet eligible to vote, to listen so that when your time comes, you can best understand why it is vital you vote. Because voting is essential for our government. It is essential in making our voices heard and influences future generations to care about being a U.S. citizen. Voting is essential for our government because it is what ultimately founded the United States of America. Because the colonists weren't being listened to by the British monarch, they rebelled and created their own country. In fact, in their document, the Constitution, they outright say, we the people are going to determine how our government is run. And throughout the centuries, they have managed to do this with elections. And there have been multiple instances where big decisions were reached by just the smallest margin. For instance, in 1960, Richard Nixon would have become president if just one person from each state had voted differently. And in 1845, Texas would not have become a part of the Union if just one senator had made the choice to vote differently. Could you imagine if Texas was not a part of the United States? And who ultimately determines who our senators are? We the people. So because of that, voting is essential for our government because it allows these big decisions to be reached. Voting is what allows our voices to be heard. In fact, it is what generations before us have fought for. Desmos.org lists that because of the desire to vote, the Voting Acts Right of 1965 is what amended the idea that only certain people could vote. And yet somehow, despite this right given to all, only certain people continue to vote, which creates a misrepresented idea of what we the people want. Advent.org did a study into what drives people to vote. And researcher Kevin Lanning summed up why it is vital for all citizens to vote. America is a great country, and we're great because people from so many different backgrounds can and do participate. That greatness is at risk when significant groups in significant numbers don't participate as they could. Voting is what allows our voices to be represented. And note, I say voting and not Twitter or Facebook, because voting is going out on a rooftop and proclaiming what you believe. Where Facebook or Twitter is more whispering to your friend and not necessarily doing anything about it. And think of it this way, voting can have benefits on people who go out and do vote. Massvote.com says that there are benefits, such as increasing awareness of your community and your civic service, allowing you to appreciate being a citizen. All right, well, then a question arises. What about the Electoral College? After all, in the 2016 election, Trump got much of the Electoral College vote, while Clinton got much of the popular vote. So do our votes really matter? Well, they do, because National Geographic and History Central sum up why the Electoral College exists. It exists to listen to the person, the people from each state, and who they want to be president. It is there to enact what the people of the state want. It listens to their voices and allows them to choose their president. And so because of that, voting allows our voices to be heard so that we can reach these decisions. And voting inspires future generations to care about their government. In recent years, there has been a bit of a decline in voting. As Desmos.org notes, only half the population seems to be voting. In the 2012 election, only 63% of Americans voted. And this interest in politics at the time might have been dwindling because of a singular yet untrue statement. Your vote doesn't matter. And this is false. And not voting perpetuates this idea that your vote doesn't matter. And so when future generations come in and when it's their time to vote, they don't, because why should it matter? And it does. But thankfully this year might be different, according to so many different news articles. One being Harvard news.harvard.com, which says that young people are going out and voting. In fact, many already have their early voting, and they will continue to do so with mail-in ballots after the election. Because of this, this year might be different, because young people are ready to go out and take a stand. And this interest in politics should remain with both the young and old, because it isn't just our government, it is the future of America's government. It is future citizens' government. Now with all this, questions will still arise, such as, who should I vote for, or who should you vote for? And the only person that can answer this question is yourself. One individual person of we the people, because you make up the people. And you are allowed to use your voice however you want to as a citizen. But luckily there are websites such as procon.com and Ballotpedia, which list out valuable ways that which list out each candidate and what they believe in, so that you can use your voice how you wish, so that you can also stay educated and stay informed. By voting, we can see how the power of opinion can spark change. And even when your vote does not win the election, you should never be afraid to stick up for what you believe in, and be able to listen to the other side, and possibly even change your mind about certain topics. Because as voting is essential for our government, essential for making our voices heard, and essential for inspiring future generations to vote, it is also essential for beginning change. In fact, voting might even be the first step. Thank you so much for listening.